Welcome to the Wellness Quacks.
Not going to join us at all. Not even try.
I didn't know I was supposed to.
I don't know what to do with my hands.
We have a special guest today. We have the father of chiropractic in our household.
The Godfather.
We have my dad, Fred Clarke. He's the one who started it all. Mm-hmm. Super happy to have him on the show today.
Yeah, could you give us a little bit of wisdom today?
Yeah.
Just a little.
So if you want to know where I got it from, you're about to find out. I got it from this guy right here.
And for today, we want you guys to vote on who looks the most like the Godfather.
I have huge nostrils.
It's me. Broken noses.
Yeah.
Blue. Oh, well, actually, we both have. We got the same eyes.
I have blue eyes,
That's
too.
where it comes from.
I have some blue eyes.
I have a blue eye.
Real quick, you guys are going to ask. I'm just going to answer yes.
Right
he only has one eye. How'd you lose your eye, Dad?
I was in combat.
I mean, he's not
We
wrong.
were holding off the Taliban. We were waiting for our backup to come.
I was on the opposing team. I
one of the
resent
Taliban
that
members-
comment.
We were simulating combat.
We were
reenacting the Revolutionary War.
re-enjoying freedom.
All the rockets red glare. Yeah, and we started shooting them at each other. And
What I can say without a doubt is, you know that phrase, it's all fun and games until someone loses an eye?
Yep, that
True.
was that day.
It's very true.
we were having so
Which-
much fun, and all of a sudden it was not fun.
Guys, I don't know if you realize this. That was 20 years ago.
Okay. So now that we're depressed,
Yeah, there's a lot more pudge on your body now. There was there.
A patient asked me about that, and I was like, yeah, it was 2004.
3.
Oh, it was 03?
was
I thought you
03.
left
It
on your
was
mission.
04.
Oh, no, it was 04.
Yeah, you left on your mission.
Yeah, 04 to 06.
It was
Sorry.
my first.
Oh,
Yeah.
so
It was my first 4th of July celebration as a U.S. citizen. Happy 4th.
he gave up a lot for his freedom.
All right, guys, we have a great show for you today. First of all, get this out of the way because it's super important. We want to thank 719 Lending for this incredible podcast booth. Good people, if you have any lending needs,
Speak to them.
Yeah, talk to them. They can get you what you need.
I just met them. They're awesome.
Yeah.
They're wonderful people.
Yeah.
I deal with them.
Good, honest people.
Yeah, Tim Chase, and they will find a way and make sure that it's done properly and appropriately from the get-go.
So 719 Lending, my name is Dr. Dylan Clarke. I have a practice here at Peak Family Chiropractic in Colorado Springs. Come see me. I'll get you better.
Or come see me, Dr. Austin Clarke, here in Colorado Springs.
Okay.
I am at Colorado Injury and Wellness.
We had a divorce.
If you're traveling,
Hey.
I'm in Olathe, Kansas. Life Chiropractic.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Dylan,
Where they both got their start.
All right, today's show, it's a great show. Again, I don't do this on purpose. I don't thrive on the conversation of always talking about vaccines. But again, what I do is I bring the news articles. Hot off the press. New news.
Shout out to
Actually,
the
it's kind
Kelseys.
of old.
There's 3 articles. One's on CNN, one is on Health News, and the other one I believe is
NBC News.
Is on MSNBC News, I think.
No, NBC.
Is it NBC?
Yeah.
Which is quoted from Health News. So these articles, I don't want to talk about vaccines. I like talking about a lot of other things. But I'm here to talk to you about the health news and what's relevant to you and why this is just absolute. Every week, man, I feel like it's
getting better and better.
Yeah. This one is going to be fun. We're going to have a good time today, folks. All right, my little ducklings, here we go.
Quickity quack quack.
The title of this one is Mother of Chicago Child with Measles. It was one of the scarier moments of my life.
I feel terror.
Yeah. I got some stats for you, too, that I pulled off of.
Definitely not condescending in the way.
Yeah, okay. I have some stats that's going to go over. We're just going to read through this. So the format, Dad, we just read through it and then comment on the reality of what's actually going on.
Okay.
And go from there. When Jessica Coletti's 3-year-old son, Vincent, lost his usual pep last month, she worried that something was really wrong. Now, I will comment. I'll say this because this is true, and I have sympathy for this.
We made it one sentence in.
When I married my wife and we had our first child, as soon as Eliza got sick, I mean,
The first time your child gets really sick.
I just think, no, for me, it was sick in general. My wife was like, is she okay? And I'm like, what are you? I got freaked out all the time because I'm like, what are you worried about? She's like, she has a fever. It's 101. We're okay. And she's like, she has a fever. She's sick. What are we worried about? Like, do you think she's going to die? Because if you think she's going to die, I'm worried too. And she's like, no, I just don't want her to be uncomfortable. And I think a lot of moms share in that they don't like, and I don't necessarily like seeing my kids uncomfortable either.
Well, especially when you're a new parent, you've never had this experience before where you have this little creature that you love more than your own life, and you worry about them because they seem so frail, so fragile. So it happens all the time.
Yeah, so I read this being a little condescending because I know what the rest of the article says, but I do actually have sympathy, especially for mothers. I think fathers too, but more so moms. I have 7 kids, 8 on the way. So I also know when I'm reading through these, I'm like, the kid's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. His eyes looked super empty.
Whoa. You skipped a paragraph.
Did I?
Mommy, I'm not good. The normally energetic boy told his mother one Saturday in early March. By Monday, the Chicago mom of 2 said Vincent was no longer moving much or talking.
Now are we at his eyes?
Now we're at his eyes.
His eyes looked super empty, Coletti said, describing her son's eyes. I do know how to read. I
No.
hooked on
me.
phonics.
Just for all you folks out there, they're both reading better than they ever did when they were
For the record, I don't know if I'm going to keep this in the podcast. My parents bought me Hooked on Phonics.
Hooked on phonics. Working for me.
Thank you, Brian Regan.
Yes.
Vincent's eyes were also red and had a rash. He tested positive for COVID-19 at the time, but Coletti felt like something else seemed off. This is why it's funny, okay? Because when you look at mortality rates, especially with measles right now, so mortality rates, for those of you who don't know, means death rates, okay? We just say mortality. It sounds nicer. The mortality rates of COVID-19 versus measles. Now, I'm not even like a big COVID-19 guy, okay? I'm going to be honest. People did die from it. I'm not going to deny that. So he had COVID-19, and what this article is going to push getting the measles vaccine or the measles booster. Like first paragraph, I already know that. What's funny is the mortality rates of measles is way less than COVID-19. And now, like, there's a new agenda, and I don't know how you don't see that. Because it's like, I don't know if you guys remember 2020, 2021.
Was not that significant.
I don't know if you remember.
It was a great year outdoors.
But, yeah. But COVID-19 was like the next Spanish flu that was going to wipe out. It was the next bubonic plague, right? Like it was going to kill the entire world. He tested positive for COVID-19 at the time, but Coletti felt like something else seemed off. Something more dangerous. Something lurking in the shadows, coming to get his son. He had a fever, eyes glossy over. The family's neighbor, a nurse, came over to check on the boy and urged Coletti to get him to the hospital right away. It was definitely one of the more scarier moments of my life, Coletti said. A couple days after the 3-year-old's hospital visit, the test results came back positive for a highly infectious disease that the U.S. Centers of Disease Control and Prevention had considered officially eliminated from the U.S. since 2000.
Really?
They did?
Eliminated. I feel like we're going to throw that term around a little loosely.
Which is also funny because I have right here...
Here it is.
The number of cases and deaths of the measles, and this is from 1921 to 2015.
Oh, so they track it after 2000 because it was eliminated in 2000, right?
Right, that's my point. And since 2000, it's actually gone up on it. I'll try and post this for you guys. But it's actually gone up. So it's like eliminated. Are they just saying it's eliminated because few people get it, and the people that get it are from vaccines?
That's crazy. I wish that they would actually include that in this article. It's like, wait, was our little Vincent vaccinated?
He was.
Right.
Yeah.
He had half the vaccine.
Yeah. Not the whole vaccine.
Well, no, he only got 4 doses.
Got half vaccine, still got measles.
No, he
full
got
vaccine, still got measles.
I'll go half vaccine.
Thanks again, Brian Regan.
Yeah.
Around a year, and then your next one's around 3 years. They've changed it. They've pushed it out. It used to be around 2 years. Mm-hmm. And then there was a correlation. They won't tell you this, but there was a correlation, not causation, but correlation of regressive autism in 2-year-olds around that time, and now it's been changed.
Yeah, they pushed it back.
Yeah. Anyway.
It's not our fault, but we're just going to go ahead and push this back anyways.
Coletti lives in one of the 17 states that have reported outbreaks of measles this year. As of April 18th, there's been 125 cases, according to the CDC.
Eliminated?
Last year, there's only 58.
Eliminated?
Yeah, thank you. I want that during this whole article.
You got it.
The U.S. generally sees about 72 cases per year.
Eliminated.
According to the CDC. Most measles cases in the U.S. happen when someone travels overseas to a country where the virus hasn't been eliminated.
Eliminated.
Yeah. But Coletti's son hadn't been out of the country. He wasn't even enrolled in school yet. Most of the cases in Chicago this year have been connected to a temporary shelter set up for migrants, but he hadn't been there either. Like, you can take a 3-year-old to a shelter anyway.
For migrants.
Yeah.
Homeless shelters?
Yeah.
Encampments.
I think this is referring to the safety cities for these guys who are hopping the border right now.
Harbor City?
The border,
yeah,
border
whatever.
crisis.
The sanctuary city place?
Yeah.
Because definitely Chicago.
Yeah.
Hey, we'll keep you safe. We'll take you to the most dangerous city in the United States.
Take me back here.
You won't die here.
Coletti may never know how Vincent caught it, doctors say.
Oh.
Quote, measles is so terribly contagious.
Eliminated.
You could be in line at the grocery store with someone who had measles and could catch it, and you would never know.
Wait, eliminated?
So let's scare people. Don't go grocery shopping. You should use Instacart.
Well, hold on.
Yeah. This is an ad for
With
Instacart.
somebody who had measles, you can catch it, and you would never know it.
Well, that's because the
You're
incubation...
going to die.
That's because the incubation period...
You're going to die.
Well, it's more dangerous than COVID-19. That's the feel we get from this. Yeah. Because the measles virus hangs out in the air for so long. Dr. Claudia Hoyen, the director of pediatric infection control at UH Rainbow Babies and Children's Hospital in Cleveland. What a huge title. My name is Dr. Clarke from Peak Family Chiropractic in Colorado Springs, Colorado, United States of America, of the Greater World
I'm
Association.
the clinical director and head of operations at that clinic.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Claudia said her son was partially vaccinated, but he hadn't received his second shot yet because he was too young. In the U.S., the CDC recommends children get their first dose between 12 and 15 months of age, and then their second one between 4 and 6. And you have to understand, too, just for educational purposes, that's 6 shots total. It's not a singular dose. You're getting measles, mumps, and rubella.
Yep.
In one go.
In one go, yep.
In one jab.
How your body knows how to differentiate those 3 in there, that's rocket algebra. I mean,
satellites are linking up in space.
Yeah. We're making fun of it because your body doesn't do that. It takes the concoction, and then it creates antibodies for the concoction. That's why it's one of the reasons why vaccines aren't as effective as they make it out to be. Because you just take a bunch of chemicals, shove it in the body. The body's like, hey, I don't like this. And it has an adjuvant in there, by definition, is a neurotoxin. That way your body has a response. Otherwise, it
might not even respond.
It doesn't respond.
Yeah, so you have to...
Because it's so infectious.
Yeah, the whole thing is crazy. All right. The vaccine for measles is considered highly effective by Pfizer. I'm going to pop it up.
Brought to you by Pfizer. This article, because who owns CNN?
Pfizer.
This is even
360 by Anderson Cooper. Brought to you by
Pfizer. Okay. One dose is 93% effective against measles. It's just, everything else about this is so dumb. But how they determine whether it's effective or not is also funny. I will say this. Effectiveness is determined by the amount of symptoms that you get. That's it. Not whether you get the disease or not. It's whether how intense your symptoms are. That's their effectiveness that they go off of.
Partially. Because then the other aspect, whenever they're doing their control trials, is they compare the effectiveness of that versus somebody else getting a whole nother concoction just without that one thing.
Right.
So then it's like, you got drunk off of vodka and Jack, but you still got drunk off of beer. So it was effective.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I love the logic of this one. It's like there are no double-blind placebo trials with vaccines. You have to know that.
Truly done. Well,
Never compare the vaccinated population with the unvaccinated population.
actually, correction. They won't ever allow you to see it.
Yeah, it's been done, but they won't approve it in peer-reviewed journals.
Right.
And they won't publish it.
And therefore, it's not published, and therefore they say that it's not a peer-reviewed published article, therefore it doesn't have credibility, right? So they just
Hide it.
Yeah.
If we don't look, it's not there.
Vaccinated people can still get sick, but it doesn't happen often, and typically it's a milder infection. Quote, little kids with measles just look miserable. They do not feel well at all, Wayne said. But she said Coletti's son was fortunate to have protection from even a single dose of the vaccine. Measles can be deadly for people who are unvaccinated and lead to even bigger health problems, including encephalitis and pneumonia. This is what's really funny. What are the side effects? What are some of the severe... So the amount of people that get encephalitis and pneumonia from measles, very, very small, right? What is one of the small side effects of people who get the measles vaccine?
Encephalitis?
How did you guess that?
That's crazy.
And?
Pneumonia.
Yeah, what? It's so dumb. Especially if you had COVID and measles at the same time.
I mean, he tested positive because those tests are very effective.
Yeah, and they've definitely tested those together to be able to even say that.
I'm actually pretty sure that they tested Pepsi, and Pepsi tested positive for COVID. Yeah.
They did. They tested Pepsi and found a positive COVID test.
Did
Yeah.
they?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's
I
fantastic.
mean, because they're effective.
Maybe they poisoned the water hole. I don't know.
No, they would never do that.
You would think that the pepsin and that sugar may become a hostile environment for the
Or a cultured environment.
or a cultured environment.
I don't know.
Maybe.
Nah.
We'll see.
There's
no
no way.
bacteria. Viruses don't grow that way.
All volunteers tribute. I'll try an experiment, okay? Pepsi, I need a sponsorship. I would be worried that
I'll write my master's on it.
Wow. Proven to be effective against COVID. Pepsi Cola.
Yeah.
Sales go through the roof. Coke, bye-bye.
Brought to you by Pfizer. I'd be worried that he might be someone who would be set up to get pneumonia because he's already having something affecting his respiratory tract. So it was a good thing that he was vaccinated. It's such BS. Like, I can't even... It's so illogical.
I thought we were going to talk about this after you read it.
Sorry. No,
No,
you
no,
read
no.
as we go.
Okay.
We're doing this like your scripture study. It takes us an hour to read 5 verses, okay?
That's not an exaggeration either. I want to be very clear about that.
They learned a lot.
Okay.
Smart.
Coletti said that they had a long wait before they were seen at a local hospital, but Vincent was admitted, which is also another funny thing because it's like
Hold on, wait. Because where did she go at the hospital?
Jim Gaffigan did a really funny thing about this where he's like
Having home births.
having home
Home
births.
births.
Yeah. People think I'm crazy too. We've had a lot of ours home
We
births.
believe
They
in
had 5
witchcraft.
kids at home.
Yeah. So if it's such a dangerous environment, where does this kid with measles go? To the hospital. Yeah.
Yeah.
You should take your kid there. It's good.
You should go to that place where you're going to give birth to your brand new precious child.
Yeah. Vincent was admitted. The doctors ran tests and treated him with IV fluids. A day later, the boy started feeling better, and his rash seemed to go away. So how many days did he have symptoms?
A
One.
day.
And what powerful drugs did they give him to help him get better?
IV fluids. Saline.
Making sure he was hydrated.
Almost like if you give your body what it needs, it overcomes most diseases and illnesses.
No. Eliminated.
Yeah.
Okay, so, I was like 5 years old when John F. Kennedy was killed.
No, I didn't know
Dang,
that.
you're that old?
Yeah, I'm that old. I remember.
I mean, I could have done the math.
I was really
just didn't
pissed.
think
I
about
was
it.
really pissed. You know why I was pissed? Because all you could see was John F. Kennedy funeral, and my cartoons were canceled that day. After school, it wasn't. I was like, really
Where were
upset.
you? Sitting on the floor waiting for my cartoons to come on?
Come on, Mickey Mouse.
But also at that time, there were no measles vaccines. Getting the measles was like a day off or more of school.
Oh.
So what we did was took one of those cornhusk brooms and poked it against my chest. And I had all these red bumps.
The Clopox spots.
And my mom said, "You got measles? No school for you today." Yes.
Wow, son, you've had measles 12 times in the last 3 years. This is amazing. I thought once you had it, you had immunity forever when you got it naturally.
Yeah, we'd go over and visit friends that have measles, hoping we get a day off too.
But I don't have a vaccine against brooms.
He doesn't even have a fever, though. What's going on?
I love this part. This is like the best part of this article. But that was not the end of it. So the kid's better. 24 hours later, gave him some IV fluids. He's doing a lot better, right? So you have to like take a step back, because if you get wrapped up into the emotional writing of this author, you hear measles, that's a buzzword. You're scared, right? Kid had to go to the hospittal. That's scary
Glassy eyes.
because you only go
Glassy eyes.
Glassy eyes.
That's really
Glassy,
scary.
yeah.
Yep. So you start getting, they're building a story. You start getting compassion for this kid, and you start feeling very scared. But when you just take a step back and you look at the facts, suddenly you're like, okay, so the kid was sick for 24 hours. They gave him IV fluids.
Well, this is the best part about it.
And his fever was gone.
This next paragraph
Okay.
that you're about to read.
Yeah. But that was not the end of it. It goes on. The phone rang 2 days later, and Coletti learned about his measles diagnosis.
Wait, so he's already done with the measles, and we're finding out that, hey, it was the measles.
2 days later, like, dun dun dun.
Measles. I had that kind of a brush with death.
I'm so glad the lamb passed by me.
It wasn't just a sick kid Coletti had on her hands. She was inundated with other calls related to the virus. Coletti said the Chicago Department of Public Health called first, followed by her son's doctor's office, and then she got another call from the hospital where her son had been admitted. It was a doctor letting me know that my son was exposed to measles in the ER, and I was like, no, my son was the one who exposed the ER. This is like a funny sitcom, right?
I feel
It's
like it. Like,
Someone killed Bob. No, I killed Bob. No, Bob's dead. Yeah, I killed him.
sorry, I just got to see like Kevin from The Office. Oh no, it was me
Yeah.
that did it. What happened to the chili? I spilled the chili.
I hate it.
Although her son started to feel better by the end of the week, the CDC recommends that people who are sick remain. Okay, if your kid is really, if there's something seriously going on in the hospital, what are they going to do? They're going to admit you, right?
Yeah.
Isolate you.
Yeah,
Quarantine you.
okay,
Now,
they're going to quarantine you, and they're going to admit you're going to be admitted.
yes.
So what did they not do to this kid?
They did not admit him.
Well, I mean, they gave him
They
IVs.
not
So even though he had measles, it was so dangerous that we're like, here's some fluids, your son's fine, see you later. So again, when you just look at the details and the facts, right? They obviously weren't that concerned that this kid's going to die or be seriously maimed or have encephalitis or pneumonia
Well,
where
here's
they're like, hey, lungs are fine, he's okay, here's some fluids. And a lot of times they give him fluids because like they're like, we got to do something so that the mom is calm. Like, that's a real thing.
Yeah.
So it's like, what can we, he's probably dehydrated. He's had a fever for a couple days. Let's give him some fluids.
Yeah.
It's not going to hurt him. Mom's going to be comforted. Let's do that. Okay, goodbye.
Yeah.
You know?
Go on now, get.
Yeah.
Here's the question, though. When are you contagious?
4 days before for
4 days
measles.
before?
And I think it's 4 days during your first symptoms.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, and most of those times it's when you're running a fever.
With measles.
With
Other
measles.
ones, it's a shorter time span. Measles a little longer.
Correct. But were they super concerned about that at the hospital?
No, because they didn't know. They weren't freaked out about it till after the test came back positive.
Oh my gosh, you guys, we almost died.
We just had it. And then all the bureaucracies that converge on the mom and on this kid. All
Right.
the investigation.
Right. Yeah. Oh,
So you know why they don't solve a lot of murders? Because police
Because the
department-
government gets involved?
No,
Oh.
because the police department has limited resources for investigators. It's because they're all investigating measles. The funds are going there, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Very important.
It's not cheap to do scientific research. It costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
And they just wasted.
For the record, I will say this about measles, and this is important. Measles is dangerous to a pregnant mother. Okay? It can cause problems and complications with a baby. Not always, but it can. Okay? So the population that's really at risk, that's where it can be dangerous for, is a pregnant mother. So there's that.
It can be.
It can be.
And when they say that, like,
But here's the other thing, too. If the mother has a natural immunity from measles,
Then is it going to be a
it's
problem?
not going to be a
it's not
problem.
going to be a problem.
So here's the other thing: is they talk about how encephalitis, pneumonia, this condition, that condition, can happen as a certain percentage. If you actually isolated the people that had those complications and what was different about them,
Well, the article I was going to pull up for you guys today, but I changed my mind because there was more about this crap, was the article that I was going to bring up, what we were going to discuss today, was colon cancer and
Right.
the body types that are related to colon cancer. And it was funny because they've identified 2 body types related to colon cancer. Any guess on the body types?
Obese and overweight?
Yes, it's central obesity and all over obesity. It's like, hey, if you are obese, it's almost like you've overloaded the systems in your body, and now it can't eliminate the junk that it
Waste.
needs to do.
Yeah.
And then you get, it's not like, why are we overcomplicating this?
Rocket science.
Yeah. It's the same idea.
how many other obesity is a comorbidity for COVID? It's a comorbidity for heart disease. Comorbidity, maybe obesity is the problem.
You got to be careful talking about it, though. Like,
Fat shaming.
Well, so they call it fat shaming. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't advertise on Facebook with my office anymore because of that.
He's been shadow banned.
I've been shadow banned, man.
Eliminated.
Because my ad was, I didn't even say you are fat or talking about that. I said tired of feeling fat. It wasn't even like you are fat.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like we should try to.
Can't you be more gentle in your language?
It was like tired of feeling crappy, tired of feeling tired of feeling fat,
Having
tired.
a hard time getting through the turnstile.
It was a bunch of tires, yeah. And yeah, I can't now. Every time I advertise, they're like, "Your ad is not approved." Like, thanks.
Appreciate
All right.
you.
Because Coletti's infant daughter was too young to be vaccinated, Coletti worried she would test positive for the virus. So remember, this is a super
Highly
contagious virus.
Disease, yeah.
So the whole family had to stay at home. The health department also told her that she and her husband had to stay home from work until they could prove that they weren't sick and had been vaccinated. Why is that anyone's business?
Ah, shoot. What are they
Well,
called?
when you're creating a public health crisis,
What are they called in Fahrenheit 451?
I don't know. I don't remember that book, man. I read that like in 4th grade.
Oh, no. It was
no, you
like.
did. It was high
6th
school.
grade.
It was high school. Do you remember high school?
He slept through a lot of it.
I did not do drugs, okay?
No, he didn't. He had
Other drugs.
there's other reasons why I was called to the principal's office.
Fred, your son is sleeping again in class. I had a teacher get really mad about that. Sorry, you had a thought.
I can't remember. It got lost in the cosmos.
Oh, I was just talking about how in Fahrenheit 451 it was like the thought police or whatever it was that they had to control everything.
Yeah.
It was like you can't go out until you take your dosage again. Like,
Yeah.
Wait,
Well, and that's what they do. They make it so scary, right?
right. Like I'm seriously going to perpetuate this highly infectious, contagious disease that murders thousands of people all the time.
And that's the point of this podcast. I hope you guys understand is what we're trying to do is arm you with education and knowledge, because once you're educated and you know it, then like you see the smoke screen for what it is and you're like, this is so dumb.
yeah.
There's so much media gaslighting happening and manipulation that just and if you can make a mom afraid, then you can get them to do anything.
Yeah.
You can get it to keep your kids from playing in the park.
Fear cells.
Which is what they did in COVID.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean,
And the arrested parents for playing at the park.
yeah.
You can't be outside in the
The
UV
educated
rays.
parents, the UV rays, it'll kill the virus faster than anything.
Yeah.
You can't go outside. We need you to be sick. We need you people.
It's almost like everybody knows the air inside your house is way worse for you than the air outside. That's why they say get out, exercise in fresh air.
First off, Anthony Fauci did not say that.
He probably said it at one point in time.
Keep your. Oh, that's true. He probably did. And I don't know. He might have flip flopped.
Remember, flip flopping used to be big in politics.
Yeah.
Like it's like, oh, he's a flip flopper. Like all of them do it now, so now they don't say that anymore.
Yeah, so it's
Like,
not. It's not.
like it's no
it's
longer
not a dig.
yeah. It's like, well, he's a politician,
It's
so
going to flip flop depending on the wind, which way it blows.
he works in health and human services, so.
okay, here we go. Ready? The nightmare wasn't just that my son was sick. That was horrible. Here's where the nightmare is. If measles is really as dangerous as they say it is, that would be the nightmare, right?
Yeah.
Because now you're afraid your kid might have encephalitis. He might die.
Might get pneumonia.
He might get pneumonia, right? Like that's the danger, right? That wasn't the nightmare. The nightmare wasn't just that my son was sick. That was horrible. But then it's your whole world. You can't go to work. You can't do this and that. And you can't even believe it, Coletti said. You never think it's going to happen to you until you are dealing with all those phone calls trying to figure out what's going on and tracking the last 21 days of your life so that they could link you to someone else that has it. It's more than what you think. People don't realize how much goes into it. I'll tell you what, man, if they called me and they started asking about my last 21 days, I'd be like, I'm sorry, I'm a deaf. I'm a deaf brother, okay? I mean,
Growing up, we would often hand the phone over to him, be like, "Hey, can we talk to your dad?" And we'd be like, "Here he is."
if we had, that's how we dealt with like
Scam
telemarketers.
Yeah, with telemarketers. I'd be like, "Yeah, here's my dad," and we'd give it to my deaf brother.
gonna
That gets a
be?
phone call for you. So that's where it comes from. It comes from a point of honesty. I mean, like, I wouldn't even comply with that. It's like it's none of your business.
Yeah.
Well, it's a public outcry. Why? Because the kid gets a fever? They don't do that in schools, and kids get sick all the time.
Yeah.
So here's another point that I wanted to bring up. What is, out of all the sicknesses right now that we deal with in America, which one kills people the most? And people are highly vaccinated for it.
Heart disease?
No.
How do you?
It's not infectious
vaccinate
disease.
for heart
Yeah,
disease?
infectious disease.
Which one kills the
Infection.
most?
Yeah. In the United States.
The flu.
The flu.
Yeah.
And it's highly vaccinated against. And it's like thousands, sometimes tens of thousands, like up to, I think it was, here you go. Yeah, it's right around, it's between 20 to 50,000 people a year.
Fluctuates.
Yeah, die from the flu.
Whoa.
Except for when we had
2020.
COVID, they cured
Yeah.
the flu.
Yeah. Then
Nobody
it-
died from flu.
2020, 2021, pneumonia didn't exist.
Well, the
and
chart
flu
that I
didn't
had
exist.
actually cuts off those years. So that's kind of why I wanted to find it. But like, yeah, that's one that like, I mean, I'm not really afraid of
if
it.
you're gonna do it, why would you not do it to the flu?
Why are you not tracking where it's coming from?
Right.
Right?
If you're gonna do it.
If you're going to track where it's coming from, why not track something that's
Actually killing people.
Right.
Measles.
What's the death rate for measles, by the way? The mortality rate?
It's,
it's
point
very low,
zero
man.
zero
It's-
something.
yeah, it's pretty low.
I'm looking it up.
So 0.00 something.
One.
So like if I was in school and the teacher says you don't get an A and he says your score is 99.9997, I said that's not an A.
Can we go ahead and round that to 100, man?
Yeah, like statistic class that says it's 100.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's your survival rate from COVID, right?
right.
Same with the flu.
Yeah, it's pretty high. And the people that are passing away, this is another thing that society right now, why I think personally we need things like God being taught, not necessarily in schools, but at least exposed to, because people are afraid of death. And I hate to break it to everyone dies. You're going to die.
No way.
Yeah.
Not me.
I love you, Dad, but it's, I mean, eventually it's going to happen, right?
That's what they say.
So you look at the people who are dying from this and who are at risk from this.
The people at the end of life checkout point.
Yeah, it's people who are already on that way anyway, right? Like that's the reality of the situation.
Yeah, they say that the flu is actually the old man's best friend.
I've never heard that before.
You haven't? No,
Nope.
you get old,
I mean,
your
getting
body's
there,
breaking
so.
down. Your
I'd
life's
rather
all
die
crap.
other. Like if I know that I'm like on my way out, I'm gonna go skydiving without a parachute. That's faster.
I think a heart attack, man. Like you get chest pain for like 20, 30 seconds, and you're like,
I don't know. I felt like
I
I
know,
had a
you can
heart attack and that
survive
hurt
that.
really bad. Yeah, you
know
don't
what I'm
want to
saying? Like
survive.
if I want to go out, that's what I'm saying.
I'm free falling. That's way better.
Yeah, then all your
Ah,
wrinkly
my reserve
skin,
shoot.
your wrinkly skin is no longer.
Have you ever
wrinkly.
gone skydiving?
No.
Yes, with you.
You don't even feel like you're falling.
I got to tell you, man, like, according to my life insurance policy, I've never been skydiving.
Recently, and I have no plans to.
Well,
hold on.
you're just falling. Anyways, that's all morbid talk, right? But we're talking about morbidity.
Yeah.
The people that it takes out are the people that they're failing. Their health is failing. You're going down the tubes. Like if you're a 90-year-old dude and you get the flu and die, it's not that bad. It's like, okay, this is my ticket out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get it.
And you're not gonna have to change my diapers anymore. Sorry, son.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna hose you down at that point, anyways.
But my whole point with it is, like, that's one that's actually killing thousands of people, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
If you're really going to be worried about it, that's why I wouldn't pick up the phone. Throw me in jail. Like, it's the United States of America. How can you even do that?
Right.
I don't understand it.
So
that's
from-
not the end of it. The thing that really sucked was I couldn't go to Starbucks anymore.
Right. Well, so this is a emotional article that's written, right, from CNN Health News. This is actually statistics from the CDC. The U.S. measles burden before 1963, each year, measles caused an estimated 3 to 4 million cases. Close to 500,000 cases were reported annually to the CDC. So there's only 500,000 reported to the CDC, but they're estimating somewhere from 3 to 4 million.
Yeah, because, like, I wouldn't report it.
Right. 48,000 hospitalizations, 1,000 cases with encephalitis, brain swelling, and then 400 to 500 deaths. This is before 1963. Okay? Hard facts. Now, U.S. measles current. Measles was declared eliminated from the United States in 2000. And then, however, measles remains present in many other countries, blah, blah, blah. We've already kind of discussed that. Since 2000, the annual number of reported measles cases ranges from 37 people in 2004 to 667 people. The last measles death in the United States occurred in 2015. That was the last measles death.
Well, what does that tell you? And they're probably vaccinated. We don't know that, but
Yeah, we don't know that,
they're
but probably.
vaccinated.
Well, because they also attribute earlier is, however, measles remains present in whatever. No, it's measles was declared eliminated by the United States thanks to a highly effective vaccination program and other control measures.
Yeah.
So, what were we sold on at the beginning of this article about measles?
It was dangerous.
It's dangerous.
And scary.
It was highly infectious.
Yeah.
And it was a deadly. I feel like Tuesday, it was deadly.
Not as deadly as COVID-19, not as deadly as the flu.
No.
Because that relates to the next article.
Yeah.
The other article that they're shoving down your throat, different news agency, same week, same content, right? So we're not going to get through the other one, but here's the other two. This year's measles case total is now the highest in the U.S. since 2019. It's 2024. It's 5 years later.
Yeah.
It's so high. Okay? And then the other one is whooping cough rising sharply in some countries. Why you may need a booster. Brought to you by Pfizer.
We just happen to have a stockpile.
Yeah. I mean, I have a bunch of statistics here, but look, at the end of the day, people, when it comes to like whooping cough and measles, the best thing for your kid is, how do you help it? That's really what I want to talk. That's how I want. That's the influence I'd like to give, right?
So it's just like what they did for the Chicago mom's kid. That they hydrated him,
Yeah.
made sure that he had lots of hydration.
What's the most dangerous thing to a kid?
Dehydration.
Dehydration. It's not the temperature of the fever that they might have. That
That reminds me of when you got sick as a little kid.
I don't know.
You had some kind of fever. You don't remember because you're still in diapers. We gave you so much Gatorade, you were peeing out.
Red 40, and that's why I'm kind of on the. Never mind.
Yeah. I want to share one last thing, though, is that today 1 in 5 unvaccinated people who get measles are hospitalized, and roughly 1 to 3 out of every 1,000 children with measles die from respiratory and neurological complications. That indicates that more often than not that there's other things that are going on, but really, if you divide the numbers and take a look at that, it's 0.003. If you go 3 out of every 1,000, 0.003. So it's less than 1%. I mean, it's calculable, but it's negligible.
Right.
And that's what we keep getting pushed.
So what do you do? What do you do for your kid, Dad?
Yeah.
What do you do for a kid who's got measles or a kid who's sick?
Well, I adjust them. That always enhances their body's ability to fight off whatever. Make sure they're hydrated. I always have dosed them with vitamin D and C, probably zinc. Do those things in your...
Now, I'll tell you this, too. When I was a kid, Dad also made us do water bag enemas.
Correct. Flush them out.
It's not popular anymore. It's not taught anymore. I don't even think they do it in hospitals anymore. But it used to be standard procedure.
It used to be standard procedure.
And why did they do that?
Well, number one, it helps remove toxins from the body. Number two, it's an actual hydration boost to your body.
Like very quick. It's hyperhydration.
Yeah, where does most of your water absorption occur?
It happens in the colon.
Yeah, in the colon. The colon reabsorbs a lot of the water.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, and it used to be standard because it helps people so quickly.
Yeah.
So he said 5, but really when we were kids, and it was unpleasant. I'm not here about to preach and be like, they're great.
Greatest experience ever.
Actually, you found out really quickly how much it helped, and you started doing it on your own by the time you were a teenager. If you weren't feeling good, you wouldn't.
Yeah, I still do them, and the reason why is because of how fast I feel better. You also told me this. When I became a doctor, I said, Dad, how do I keep people healthy? And he said, if you can remember, the disease starts from the mouth and ends
at the other end.
Yeah, at the other end. And if you keep those healthy in people, they'll do better, right? And one of the things that enemas do is it flushes that crap out. Yeah. This sounds really weird, but when I get a sore throat, the first thing I actually do is I go do an enema, a water bag enema. You can look them up. I'm not going to give instructions on here. But you can, you do like a liter of water and you start flushing the system and your intestines start working, which is where's the main part of your immune system?
Is your large bowel.
Your entire intestinal tract is a massive your immune system. When that's healthy, your whole body is operating healthy. You want to absorb the vitamin C, you want to absorb the vitamin D, you want to absorb the zinc, all that stuff. You have to have a clean intestinal.
A healthy gut is the foundation of your health. If you've had one dose of antibiotics, they've just slaughtered your gut health.
I talked about that last week with Marquise. Go see it, because when you have antibiotics, you're more likely for depression and anxiety, because that's where the happy juices are made and created.
There's no link from your gut to your brain.
There's more neurotransmitters in the gut than there is in the brain.
Yeah. You wipe that out in your host.
Yeah.
So those were the 6 things that my dad did to us growing up, and that's what I do to my children. And arguably, I'd say I have pretty healthy, resilient children. They still get sick. I mean, I'm not here to tell you you're not going to get sick. They get sick, and
that's how you handle it. It's your body's. I always look at it as like it's an immune system workout. Your immune system's gone to the gym, and you come out on the other end stronger and healthier. There's another crazy correlation, and that is those childhood infectious diseases, which everybody got when I was a kid. They prime your immune system and prepare it in later life for fighting off things like cancer and other debilitating diseases. And there's a real correlation between the elimination or suppression of those childhood infectious conditions and an increase in cancer rates and leukemia and other immune system problems.
So almost like when you play God, it doesn't work as well.
It's almost like God kind of knew what he's doing. I always like to make fun of evolution people because
evolution people.
The complexity of the organism is so vast. To think that could happen by accident without some kind of intelligence creating it.
Or intelligent design behind it.
Right. Sure, it operates sort of on its own, but it's... Anyway, evolution God was amazing. What he... how he set the immune system
I think
up.
that
Thank
takes-
you, evolution god.
I think that takes greater faith, in my opinion, like to believe in that. Like,
Yeah, I think both take faith, right? You just decide where you put your faith in.
So I
You're going to put it in Pfizer.
When I was teaching biology at the community college, I mean, I had to teach a section on evolution, but I also taught this about enzyme actions.
Mhm.
So we have to produce an essential protein. There are 25 identifiable reactions that happen, and each one of those reactions has a very specific enzyme, a protein that's made. And if you take out one of those enzymes, which is made by a very specific design coded in the DNA, you take out one of those enzymes and that reaction doesn't happen, life is incompatible. The guy said, evolution guy was literally amazing. And he could put all those things in place at once. That kind of complexity. And that was back in the 90s when I taught that. They know way more about cellular functions in biology now than they did then.
Yeah.
So if you just respect the natural processes, nourish, cleanse, rest, find peace, there's power in prayer. That's been documented scientifically, that your immune system is actually stronger if you can meditate. You don't have to like believe in my God and worship the way I do, but if you can connect to the higher power, which I call God, but you can call whatever you want, your immune system is stronger.
Yeah.
So just do
Well, and that's the psychosomatic connection as well, right?
psychosomatic. You mean how your brain affects the function of your body?
Yeah, how your brain
Your
affects
thoughts,
you.
your
Yeah.
thoughts.
And when you're at peace and you're centered with yourself, your body operates better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
no, it definitely works way better when you're stressed.
It's like at the end of every semester, man. I got sick at the end of every
I remember that.
semester. It's just like
So stressful.
Yeah.
And you finally get past the test and then you crash for a week.
you're like, oh man, I get 2 weeks off and I'm gonna spend
And in bed.
50%
5
of it.
days. Yeah, 5 days of that sick recovering. All right, guys, that's what we have for you today.
Be scared of the measles. Don't be scared of the measles.
The number one financial contributor to CNN is pharmaceutical companies. And so when I read these articles, it's like, well, they're not directly funding them. Yeah, what happens if they pull the funding for CNN? I mean, CNN already doesn't have very many viewers anymore, right? Like, compared to where they were. They've lost so much credibility in the last, 10 years. Like, it's unreal. So you pull Pfizer out. It's like, hey, I almost wonder if someone's on the horn, like, our numbers, our financial income statements for measles is down. You got anything of measles in New York? I need someone to write me an article. You know,
I think it's probably more of along the lines of, could you go ahead and write an article on that one and it says all of these things?
yeah.
Write that.
Do you mean they have a template?
Yeah, we need a scared mother. We need to interview her and take this information, and
We've already done it.
we just need a new name. We can't use Coletti again. What's another name? That one was. Let's see.
I'm saying the fact is they're the ones that gathered all the information. They were one of the 21 callers to her.
Yeah.
And so they're like, oh yeah, here you go.
Yeah,
Change the title.
that's right. 3 articles in 1 week, though. Give me a break.
Yeah.
About the same thing, about diseases that your body can overcome.
Every
super
American
easily.
needs to study Edward Bernays.
Let's do this. We'll end on this. Dad, what books do you think people should read? Like a mother and a father who's either having children or getting ready to have kids. What books do you think that they should read?
I think Dissolving Illusions is really good.
Phenomenal.
Phenomenal book. The book that I read back in the 80s was How to Raise a Healthy Child in Spite of Your Doctor.
Yeah.
It was by Mendelsohn, a pediatrician. He was a board-certified college professor in pediatrics, and he wrote an amazing book about. He had a respect for the process of life. That was a really good one.
Well, it's interesting too. Even with the advances in technology, the principles of that book are still valid today.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, Dissolving Illusions by Suzanne Humphreys. She's great. And Sherry Tenpenny's books. I don't know the name by title. You can see her podcast.
Sherry Tenpenny.
Sherry Tenpenny. Neil Z. Miller's book about.
That's the ones you had me read.
Right. I remember when I went and did that vaccine debate thing in
So her
in
most
high
recent-
school.
Yeah, in my high school.
When
Yeah,
when you were in 10th
yeah. I
grade.
got marched down to the office. They're like, you have to be vaccinated to come to school. And I was like, that's false.
It was.
I don't know if you can imagine this. I was a very compliant child.
Never got in an
Very
argument with your
socially
teacher.
amicable. I mean, people loved me.
Never got in an argument with your teacher.
Never got
I'm taking crazy pills. Sherry Tenpenny's most recent book is Saying No to Vaccines, a resource guide for all ages. And in 2005 to 2009, she wrote A Healthier You.
And you know it's dogmatic because it's like the one medication that you're not allowed to talk about.
Right.
Right?
It's a sacred cow.
I mean, like literally in school, when I said I wasn't, my teacher grabbed me by the arm, marched me down the office. The assistant principal said to him, goes, please take your hand off of him so that we don't have a lawsuit. And I was like, ha, I won.
my G levels were probably much higher then because I probably would have had a lawsuit.
Yeah.
But because they made me mad.
But what we did was we used that as an opportunity to educate, really.
Yeah.
So Dad came in for 2 hours, educated the class, and then I had students like, should I get vaccinated? I'm like, I'm not a doctor, man. I can't tell you that.
So that book that I use.
Those are some resources for you. Get your kid adjusted, vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, and then...
Oh. The big negative is get rid of sugary drinks. Sugary drinks. That your immune system is compromised for hours after drinking one soda. 6 hours it takes you to recover from a Coke.
Which I'd be interested, like I think a better study that would be done is like of the kids that unfortunately did die from from anything. Yeah, like what was their diet? What was their health? What were the other complications that were happening? I really believe that the average body and kid is going to be just fine. But if you're feeding them, like hot dogs, Cheetos, and washing it down with a Coca-Cola or red Gatorade.
Which Dad was doing to you. I mean, explains a lot.
You do the best you can with what you know.
I'm the youngest.
You got to forgive yourself.
He had the most wisdom with me.
Yeah, so he was my first completely unvaccinated.
But he's had way more concussions than all of us. So the playing field has been level.
I was never kicking on the field like you did in soccer.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Austin did have the most scarred helmet on his football team.
That sounds true. Yeah.
Dang it.
He's like, Dad can adjust me.
That's exactly right.
So no sugar and processed foods. I'd say cut processed foods out.
Yeah. There's a good app that you can get called Food Educate.
Soups. I would say like bone broth soups are going to be really good for you.
They're awesome for you.
Yeah, I do that. Like if your kid's sick, chicken noodle soup's been around forever, and it's like it actually has a lot of benefits.
Don't use Campbell's. Make your own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And use like bone broth or chicken broth and make your own chicken noodles.
You mean that gelatinous cube that dumps out? Is that good for you?
Hey, come on, man.
It makes good funeral potatoes, but funeral potatoes. I called that because everyone's getting ready for.
I understand. Yeah, I got the relation. I was like, we got dark again.
There's a theme going on today.
That's the other thing I do if I was like feeling sick. Like I was dealing with a cold and I wasn't shaking it. I took a chicken, cut it in half right down the middle of the whole chicken. I boiled it, simmered it over a few hours, separated all the meat. I left the big bones in, took the little bones out, put in carrots, root vegetables, some barley, put barley in there, and I use natural spices for seasonings. I was like rejuvenating soup. It was really so full of nutrition. A lot of fresh vegetables. There's nothing fake in that soup. And it takes a little effort. It's much more than opening a can.
What about chocolate cake?
Chocolate cake is really awesome for you.
Yeah.
If you
How about Bluebell ice cream?
If you have ice cream with the chocolate cake.
Actually, I was legitimately going to bring that up. I was always told by my father, my old pappy used to say that Dutch chocolate Bluebell is actually great when you're sick.
It's really good for you. It makes your soul happy, and a happy soul makes a happy body.
Psychosomatic response.
And get an adjustment.
Yeah.
Get your spine aligned. Get your nerves firing so you feel fine all the time.
Yeah.